Welcome back to the Extra Red Podcast, guys. I'm Josh.
I'm Liam.
So today we are going to go through our personal supplement stack. So obviously we have, different needs, different things we're looking at in terms of just improving, overall health, whether that be from a, training standpoint, nutrition standpoint, micronutrient standpoint. So I thought it'd be really good to, go through what we're doing, obviously why we're doing it, because I'm sure, a lot of you guys have probably taken supplements blindly before. And you're not really sure, what they're actually meant to do, or if you actually need this supplement or that supplement. So hopefully we can give you guys a bit of clarity as to if we're taking a certain supplement, why we're taking it, and why it's actually effective, for us depending on our goals and our situation. So do you want to kick us off, Liam, or what do you want to talk?
First and foremost, I'll say that we're both very guilty of spending our money on supplements and taking them blindly. It's very easy to look at supplements and just see everything online, or this person made a video about this one, and then you think to yourself, oh, I must need that. And it's like, no, you don't necessarily need it. But at the same time, this is how you can go through multiple different practitioners or something to find out what you actually need. But the reason we're doing this podcast on what we take year round is because there are certain supplements that I personally believe and Josh personally believes from a standpoint that we both need and you should be taking year round, because it's very hard to get through diet and lifestyle. Very hard. So starting off, number one, I take Zinc Sustain by Bioceuticals.
Cool. Why do you take that?
I thought you just wanted me to say the number one I take. But
no, you're good.
The reason I take it is 1, for my immune system, 2, for testosterone production, 3, I've been working with an applied kinesiologist for the past year, and multiple times if I stop supplementing Zinc, my body just tends to shit itself. I get like a sore right hip, all these things, because he actually vial tests me and my body doesn't actually absorb zinc really well. So the Bioceuticals version, it comes with B6 and magnesium in it to actually absorb it a lot better. So I just seem to be someone who's very zinc deficient, and a lot of people panic with taking zinc and high doses of zinc and all that year round. I've taken it year round because I need to take it year round, and I've noticed no difference in, say, copper toxicity and all these things that people worry about, because if you take zinc for too long, people say like you can't naturally produce it anymore, or it affects your copper status and your copper depletes too much because we have a zinc to copper ratio in the body. I'm yet to find someone who's actually overdosed on zinc supplementation.
Yeah, I think leading into that, I guess my first one is, I think it's just a simple base cover is just a good multivitamin. And obviously that contains, a lot of supplementation, but I think just as a general guide for most people, especially if they're going to a diet, right? Most people already are deficient in certain vitamins and minerals. And obviously, you're going into potentially a diet, a deficit, bit of fat loss, the chances are you're going to be cutting out more food, right? Of course, if you're cutting out more food, generally speaking, you're going to be cutting out more nutrients. So I think just a standard decent multivitamin. I use the Now Foods one. I find that's sort of like the minimum standard, the men's multi there. And that just sort of covers, like I said, most of the bases from a health standpoint, I guess. And then the only other one I would take, really regularly in terms of just health is a fish oil. But I'm taking, cod liver oil at the moment.
Yeah, that's also one of mine, but we won't need to mention it now.
Yeah, cool. Well, I think, like you mentioned, do you want to go into cod liver oil a little bit, into obviously why it's better than just your fish oil?
Well, the bioavailable form of it is amazing for the omega-3 ratio. It's way less risk of toxicity, which can be in omega-3 supplements. They could be rancid with how they're produced and stuff. And look, there's no getting around it. The supplement industry is dirty, right? We saw what happened with the creatine gummies and everything like that. It's like everyone looks for the cheap supplement on Amazon from a third-party creator that goes, oh, okay, this is fish oil and it's, $15 cheaper. And then it's rancid and it's got microplastics and it's just not even a bioavailable form. So cod liver oil is a really good bioavailable form, not only of the omega-3s that we're looking for, but it's also got other things like vitamin A in it as well, and vitamin D, which goes on to my next supplement. I take a vitamin D K2 supplement, which is a Dr. Eric Berg one, and the reason being is because it's got the right ratio between vitamin D and K2. The reason being is for every, say, 5,000 IUs of vitamin D you take, you want to take 100 micrograms of vitamin K2 because calcification can happen in the body when we have too much vitamin D, and we want to make sure that calcification goes into the right places, like bone deposits, for example. We don't want it to go in the arteries because that's where plaque can build up. So having that right ratio is really good, and the amazing benefits for the immune system, like our body's completely covered in vitamin D receptors, also hormonal panel like testosterone and everything. A correlation between the three that I take of vitamin D, K2, zinc, and then cod liver oil, you can't beat it.
Yeah, I think it's yeah.
It covers all bases.
Yeah. Add a multivitamin in there if you need to. Like,
exactly.
That's I think from a health standpoint, and again, unless there's a specific issue you have, like, it goes much worse than that. Like, for example, like lately, been getting sick, so a lot of my stuff now. Obviously, the sauna I know is a great one. Obviously, I've been using that, but a lot of was it the glutathione and vitamin C liposomal. Both of them, I think, are very, very good if you're someone who gets sick quite often.
Are you taking glutathione in the form of N-acetylcysteine, which is a precursor to glutathione? Which is, for the people that don't know, glutathione is the body's master antioxidant. So when you're sick, you want to ramp that up so it gets things out.
It's a liposomal glutathione.
Ah, interesting. Yeah. Very nice. Okay, so for people that don't know, liposomal means it's more bioavailable because it absorbs. Are you taking it under the tongue?
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's a liquid version rather than a capsule.
Yeah. And I find like you said, from that absorption standpoint, especially when you're sick, I think the liposomal, like glutathione and vitamin C, are both really, really good to get you back up and running. And then just your standard Armour Force always helps as well. Getting out into sunlight, getting back into as much of a rhythm as you can. I find when you're sick as well, melatonin can be useful, just for getting better sleep as well, because obviously that might get disrupted too. So I think there's a few there, just in terms, just a side tangent in terms of sickness, that would really help a lot of you guys. But again, if you're getting sick all the time, there's probably something deeper.
Could be mold toxicity.
Yeah, could be mold. Yeah, which I think we found some in our house. So again, something that we need to get looked at as well ASAP.
Well, it's interesting you mentioned the Armour Force because it actually has the form of zinc, B6, and magnesium in it that I mentioned with my zinc that I take. The reason being is they're both from Bioceuticals, the actual company that makes it.
Yeah, I think they're really good bioceuticals as well. So most of the stuff you get from there, you can pretty much tick it off. Them, Thorn. I think Now Foods is like the minimum I use now.
Now Foods, yeah.
Like,
Do you use Herbs of Gold?
I've heard of them. I've heard they're pretty good as well. But I think from a pricing standpoint, you'd say what Now Foods, Herbs of Gold
Now
are probably
Foods,
like
Herbs of Gold, good.
your good minimum standard stuff. And then
for Bioceuticals, you can get it at Chemist Warehouse. It's just not on the shelves. It's actually behind the counter.
Yeah.
So that's just one hack for a lot of people. Like, yes, it's around the same pricing range, but you have to specifically ask for it.
Yeah, cool. If we were going to talk more, body composition, fat loss, muscle gain, what would be your what's in your stack or your go-tos if you're looking to really optimize that?
It's I hate to say it's a supplement, but it's coffee because I buy the Before You Speak sachet ones, and that's body composition standpoint purely from performance of caffeine. The other one's just creatine. Yeah, I take it just a micronized version because it doesn't really upset my gut, and it blends easier in a smoothie that I have post-workout. But yeah, creatine. We don't need to harp on about the benefits. We've done it multiple times in podcasts, but 5 grams daily, and that's really all I take. Yeah,
and I think that's it's one thing to mention that any supplement that's going to, aside from probably creatine and caffeine, that's going to say, oh, this is going to boost your performance by this or do this, build your muscle, like you're talking like testosterone or your test boosters and things like that. Like, they're just a load of bullshit, guys, really. A lot of the time it's, they might be ingredients that, yes, if you are deficient in, this could potentially help, of course. But if you've just got, potentially like a vitamin D deficiency or something like that, it's something you just go, oh, okay, like, I just need to get out in the sun a bit more. I'm, working 50 hours a week in my little dungeon, and like, I just need to get out in the sun, and take a vitamin DK2 supplement, which would actually, probably cover, a lot of your bases. But a lot of the stuff comes from lifestyle, doesn't it?
Well, lifestyle trumps everything. The reason being is, okay, let's say you're taking your ashwagandha or your Tongkat Ali because you have hormonal issues like SHBG is too high, so your free testosterone is not actually binding properly. It's, not being distributed throughout the body. Now, what actually reduces SHBG naturally? Guess what? carbohydrates. So if you eat a higher carbohydrate diet and you live a lifestyle of lifting weights and then, getting good sleep, guess what? Your SHBG is naturally going to decrease and you're going to have more bioavailable testosterone. Combine that with getting sunlight, which is vitamin D as well, which will enhance that testosterone. Lifestyle trumps all when it comes to just supplementing it. Now, this is why supplements can be amazing, right? Because we are supplementing for a lifestyle, right? Something like a men's multivitamin, right? Especially if you're going in a deficit. A deficit is a stressful state on the body because you're literally depleting your nutrition or depleting the amount. So it's more of an insurance policy and it's more of a quality of life benefit. Like look at something like greens powders, right? Yes, you're not going to probably get the same benefit as, cooking and eating your greens and your veggies. But at the same time, if you're really time poor, if you can't cook or you just don't like the taste of greens and you can have a greens powder in the morning, who's to say that that's wrong?
Yeah. And I think it'll, again, context dependent, right? It's like, then you have the companies like the A1 Greens and that, like AG1 Greens or whatever they are, and come out and like, oh, everyone needs this supplement, this, that. And it's like, for a lot of people, it's like, oh, nah, bro, you just need to add some more broccoli to your dinner or add some sort of vegetable. You don't fucking eat a vegetable to begin with. So, like you said, it goes back to lifestyle and going, okay, where can I improve my diet first off? And once you've got to a point where you're happy and you're able to be consistent with that, then you go, okay, where are the holes? What can we plug? Is it an issue with protein? Okay, we're just going to have a protein powder to supplement that. I'm 50 grams less protein than I normally get. Cool. Slam a double shake in the morning, or have a double shake after your workout, whatever it might be. If you're struggling to sleep, it's like, okay, we can look at magnesium. We look at different sleep supplements throughout the night to help obviously, de-stress, get rested, improve your sleep, which is obviously then going to, as a lifestyle element, improve everything else. And it's just it's a snowball that just keeps going down. The more healthy changes you make, the better you're obviously going to feel. And then that's going to snowball into every other area of your life, and health and fitness, whether that be losing fat, building muscle, or just generally, feeling and looking better.
Well, it's interesting that you mentioned magnesium there because we can segue into that because I believe we both take magnesium and I've got 3 supplements left that I take in my daily stack. So there's a total of about 5 or 6 that I take generally. And that is magnesium glycinate. And I take that post-workout. It just helps calm my nervous system down. And obviously you deplete magnesium when you've done a hard session and through sweat and everything like that. I don't actually drink electrolytes. I just drink filtered water. So that's something that I probably need a bit more magnesium when it comes to that. So I take magnesium glycinate post-workout and before bed as well.
Yeah, it's interesting you mentioned electrolytes because I think, that's a big one. All the companies at the moment are just like, you need electrolytes. And don't get me wrong, they're very, very useful, right? But
we're not sponsored by Element.
Exactly. Not sponsored by any electrolyte company, but I think you've got to understand a lot of people, they get there's sodium, potassium, magnesium, right? In your electrolytes. A lot of people way too much sodium from all the packaged food. So it's already like, okay, you probably don't need to worry about that. And you're thinking when you're talking about eating a better diet full of, grains and potatoes and greens and fruit, a lot of them will contain a lot of potassium and magnesium. So it is one thing where, not saying you can't have that, but it's, if you're going to spend $60 having one of those when you could just spend another, couple of bucks every week just making some better choices with your food, you're probably going to get enough sodium, potassium, and magnesium. But for me, I have found, especially because I train in the morning, that having something like that can be really useful. Especially just getting a little bit extra in doesn't need to be anything crazy. But of course, this depends on your lifestyle, time you're training, all those things as well. I just look at your own situation before you just blindly go and buy a pre-workout, buy that sort of supplement, buy this, buy that.
Yeah, and look, all the supplements that I take personally is because I've had trial and error over like the last 12 years and looked into a shit ton of research and know what my body needs. Sometimes the supplements that I'm taking now, for example, I'm not always taking. Sometimes I do cycle them on and off. For example, the 2 that I'm cycling on and off at the moment, I've recently just started adding curcumin back into my routine. Now, curcumin is something that it has so many benefits, so many antioxidants benefits. It's healthy with joints. It's got gut microbiome benefits. It's all these things, right? But I don't need to be taking it year round. And it has been shown to sort of inhibit iron absorption as well in certain people. So you've got to be cautious of that. But the most bioavailable form is Mariva curcumin. That's the one that you want. And specifically, I had to look at the ones that I used to take from Fusion weren't actually the Mariva version. So I swapped to Herbs of Gold, and that's the one you can see on the counter just there, Josh. And that's the most bioavailable form of curcumin. The reason I'm taking it is because I'm at a period where I feel like I've almost mastered my body in my training program. I'm getting really, really strong right now. And getting really strong and tricep pressing almost 80 kilos means you're gonna get some elbow niggles and a few wrist niggles and a few things, neck niggles, things like that. I found with just adding the curcumin in, specifically at nighttime, because I don't want to suppress the inflammation response in my body after training, taking it at nighttime before I go to bed and then waking up, I'm just way less achy and I'm just recovering that little bit better. But it's not something I take year round. It's only for a specific purpose. And then the other one was vitamin D. Obviously, we're just coming out of winter. Of course, I'm taking vitamin D during winter, especially with the immune system and all that stuff. And, in 2 months' time when it's sunny outside, I'll be popping melanotan instead.
Yeah, you won't take it. Yeah, exactly right. Yeah, it is, like I said, it's all specific. It's all purpose built to the person. So, like I said, don't get caught into some influencer or some idiot just being like, I've taken this brand new supplement. And a lot of the time, the problem is, guys, like you see these biohackers all over the internet now, and they're saying, take this, take that. And then it's like, you actually look at any of the research done, and granted the research is behind in a lot of stuff, but at the same time, they've barely done a test on rats, to make it effective. So it's just one of those things where you've just got to be careful. You also have to do your own trial and error. And then of course, money comes into it as well. It's like, do you want to pay $100 for this supplement where, you don't know if it's actually going to work? You've got no idea. You're just like, oh, is my test actually a bit low? Is this low? Is that low? I don't know.
Yep.
So I think the first step is always going towards getting a blood test and having a look at that sort of stuff. Because again, if you're able to do that, then you're able to be like, okay, if this is low, then straight away I know, where do I want to spend my money? Exactly. If I've got, $100 a month to spend on supplements, let's pick the two things that I know is going to make the greatest impact on that.
Exactly. I can give you a perfect example, and this is why it's so important, right? Is I had a ex-client, James, reach out to me, and he mentioned all this stuff in a voice note that like he felt like near sort of his rib cage, like there was something that like got blocked and then didn't move through and pass, and he was getting a bit of pain and stuff. And I'm just like, he was explaining everything to me, and I'm like, straight away, I'm like, I know that's a sluggish gallbladder. So he's bile deficient and he just needed a little bit of help. Straight away, I just got him onto Tudcar. And 500 milligrams daily. I'm like, dude, you just need to take this on an empty stomach. That's it. You got sluggish bile. And it was just pretty like, it's not a diagnosis by any means, but it's like looking for the relief that he needed. He had it straight away. Now, does everyone need to take Tudcar? No. But for the specific person, or if someone's using anabolics and their liver's under pressure, they need to be taking Tudcar year round, right? And I've had, my own genetic fat malabsorption issues where I've had to take Tudcar, and it's been a lifesaver for me.
Yeah, it's really interesting. Like I said, goes back to the person, goes back to the individual. And, we'll throw a shameless plug on here. But again, if you need blood work done, if you need someone to read it, Liam's obviously going to be a very good person to be able to do that for you. So if you're not sure on what supplements you should take, what you shouldn't, like I said, feel free to reach out to both of us at Action Fitness Nutrition or at Coach Liam C. Murphy. Obviously, if you want to go down that route of blood work, Liam is your man. If you just want some more generalized advice with your supplementation, I can obviously help you out there too, or obviously I can pass that on to Liam for you as well. But I think that's...
Well, I've got one more supplement
Beautiful.
that I take, and that's saffron.
Yep.
Lately, 30 milligrams once or twice a day. Just all the research and benefits I've seen around the brain, like, mood enhancement, around people with ADHD, then antioxidant standpoint. Saffron just seems to be absolutely amazing. So I've been taking 30 milligrams, and to be honest, I have noticed a difference in regard to mainly my sleep if I take it at nighttime. So I don't know if it was placebo, but I used to wake up during the night sometimes with some racing thoughts, I had a bit of shit going on or whatever, and then sometimes I'd just get up to pee and then go back to bed. With saffron, I have noticed I just sleep all the way throughout the night. I don't know if it's placebo, but it's a big improvement.
Yeah, it's interesting.
And I'm waking up earlier as well. So I'm waking up earlier fully rested, and I was taking this before the nasal strips, so I can say it was working, and it's not just the nasal strips that are helping with the sleep.
Yeah, and I think the last thing I will mention on that is that, like, sometimes, again, we know placebos can be good, but again, it can be effective, and it just depends on what you want to do, right? If you if you take a, quote unquote cheaper supplement and that gives you the placebo effect that you're looking for,
Then it works.
Then it's going to work, and that's not necessarily a bad thing. So I think that's always, it's always about weighing up your options, weighing up what's the best case scenario depending on the situation you're in, and that way you're going to be able to get obviously the most benefit out of whatever supplement or lifestyle intervention you guys are going to then go through. But that's it for the episode, guys. I hope you enjoyed. Again, if you can share, like, subscribe, we would very much appreciate it. But until next time, we'll see you in the next podcast.
See you guys.